All right, welcome to Unit 3 in Grade 10 Theory. This unit's going to cover note values and time signatures specifically. The first few pages, as I'm sure you'll see, is largely review. It's nothing special, nothing new. You might see a few new terms, but it's really just for FYI. So when you're out in the real musical world, you will recognize hopefully some of these words as being somewhat familiar. So this page is essentially a review of note values. You can see down the left-hand side all the regular names that we know, whole notes, half notes, and quarter notes. And on the right-hand side, the equivalent European names for the same note values. For example, the whole note, we know it as a whole note. In a lot of European countries, and traditionally, it's also called a semibreve. A half note is called a minim. Quarter notes are called crotchets, eighth notes are called quavers, and 16th notes are called semiquavers. That really is just an FYI. It's nothing important, nothing you have to memorize necessarily. It really is just a reference, okay? Now it says, in the table above, eighth notes and 16th notes are grouped together for simplicity. However, when they are on their own, they have tails. Again, this is easy stuff. You know that eighth notes on their own look like this. Oops, sorry about that. 16th notes on their own have two flags off them. And of course, they can be beamed together like this in groups of 2 or in groups of 4. The groupings of these note values is important. Okay, you can't just link any number of eighth notes together or 16th notes together at random. There is a system and a reason for grouping notes and beats together. Mostly it's to visually show where the beats happen. So for example, this music right here, these eighth notes, you might see a time signature of 4/4 in front of it, and you'll see that eighth notes are grouped in 2s. So you can physically see that these two first eighth notes encompass beat 1, there's beat 2, these two eighth notes are beat 3, and these two are beat 4. Similarly, in 16th notes, they're assuming 4/4 time signature. All 4 of the first rhythms are in beat 1, the next 4 beat 2, the next 4 beat 3, the next 4 are beat 4. They could technically have beamed all 16th notes together. They could have done that. But it certainly would be ugly to look at, and you wouldn't really know how many 16th notes are there just at a simple glance. This way, so since they grouped them in groupings of 4, you can see, there are 4 groupings of 4, which means there are 16 sounds in there. Okay, so that's really just the convention for grouping and beaming of eighth notes and 16th notes. We'll get there, not to worry. Okay, so like I said, this really is a reference point. This table up here, you can think of it kind of like a rhythm tree, if you like. Okay, you can say, okay, in a whole note, you can fit 2 half notes. In every half note, you can fit 2 quarter notes. In each quarter note, you can fit 2 eighth notes. And in each eighth note, you can fit 2 16ths. Okay, you really can think of it like that if you want. All right, that's why they sort of show it in that way. And it really is just fractions. If you know your fractions, you can do some simple math, such as what they're asking you to do at the bottom here. So using the table above, answer the following questions. How many of this note value are in that note? Fill it in, and away you go. Okay. As you move down the page, fill this line with quarter notes, 4 per bar. I'm not sure why they're asking you to do this at the grade 10 level, because certainly you all know how to draw quarter notes, but give it a go. Right? At the bottom of the page here, it says, at each asterisk, complete the measure with a note of appropriate value. So you're just doing the math, looking at how many beats there are given to you, and a single note, put with a note of appropriate value, not 2 or 3 or 4 notes, a single note value that is appropriate to fill in that bar. Okay? So fill out the rest of this worksheet and pause the video right now, and when you're done filling out the worksheet, we'll carry on to the next page. All right, so page 35, again, is largely review. We're talking rest values, just like the previous page. Using note values, this is just dealing all in rests. You'll notice in the chart at the top of the page here, you have your whole rest, and we can see the American name. The conventional Western name is the whole rest. You can see that the corresponding European term is semi-breve rest, a minim rest, a crotchet rest, quaver rest, and semi-quaver rest. So exactly like the note values, the corresponding note values, we just have a rest. Okay, whole rest, semi-breve rest, quarter rest, crotchet rest, and on it goes. Okay. Also, this chart can also be thought of as a rhythm tree, but simply for rests. In one whole note, you can fit 2 half notes. In each half note, you can fit 2 quarter notes. In each quarter note, you can fit 2 eighth notes, or sorry, I should have been saying rests, whole rest, half rest, quarter rest, you know what I'm talking about. And in each eighth rest, of course, you can fit 16th rests. When you have this rhythm tree, of course, it helps you to see the relationships between these notes, between these rest values, right? So match each note to its equivalent rest, easy stuff. Draw a line of quarter rests, easy stuff. With these quarter rests, there really is nothing in music that looks anything like a quarter rest. So if you're drawing, sorry about that. If you are drawing essentially something that looks squiggly and kind of like a quarter rest, it'll be obvious that you're drawing a quarter rest, right? Sort of a zigzag with a curly Q on the bottom. That's technically a quarter rest. I've seen rests people draw like this. I've seen that kind of stuff in handwritten music. Believe me, I've seen it. It's some bizarre stuff. But obviously, there's nothing that looks like a quarter rest. So as long as if you have your own flair on a quarter rest, that's fine. Eighth rests, kind of similar. They should look kind of like a little number 7 with a hook, with a little ball on the end. Okay, and as long as they sit within the staff, and they don't go extenuatingly outside the staff, that's perfect. Okay. And then, just like the previous page, at each asterisk, complete the measure with a rest of the correct value. So at each asterisk, I'd like you to put one rest value here, one rest value here, and have a look at what's happening in the music to give you an idea of which rest value goes in here. Okay, so for example, the first bar, you have a quarter note, you have a quarter note, and you have an eighth note. They've given you 2.5 beats of music. In 4/4 time, you know that you need 1.5 more beats. So with 2 asterisks, 2 empty spots in this bar, what do you think would be the most appropriate thing to put here and the most appropriate thing to put here? Hopefully, by looking at the layout of where these quarter notes and eighth notes are placed, you will see that it makes the most sense that since there is an eighth note here, that in order to complete that beat 4, you really should complete it with an eighth rest. And of course, that means that in the middle here, you're left with 1 more beat to fill out, and you'll of course put your quarter rest in there, your own version of a quarter rest, whatever it looks like. All right, so feel free to finish off this worksheet in its entirety, and that's the end of this lesson. 2 pages down. See you in the next lesson.